Assalamu alaikum. Well, today we're going to have chapter 4. This is chapter most likely will finish in 1 week time, 2 lectures. Well, what we have here, it's about 15 slides. This chapter is implementation of chapter 3. It's not something new. It's something we had for the past 2 weeks. We have been studying contracts. How can we make a contract? How can we establish it? How can we set it aside? We had last week remedies of money damages and performance. And we would today speak about specific contract, which is sale of goods. We have many types of contracts, not only one type, many of them, dozens of contracts. But the most common contract we have in civil and in commercial life is sale. Most of us on a daily basis, we embark upon making contracts. For me and for you, on most days, most weeks, we make contracts. Buying little things, buying expensive things. It doesn't have to be every day, but most likely, if you look back for the past 1 week, for the past 2 weeks, how many times have you made sale contracts? Any one of you? Sale contracts this week, last week. How many times? Many. You cannot count them sometimes. On a daily basis you make some contracts. Buying sandwich, buying stuffs, scarves, glasses, mobile phones, food, paying for the taxi even sometimes. You buy the service. It's not always about buying goods. Goods here, items, something physical. I can buy computer, I can buy mic, I can buy jacket. But sometimes you can buy the service. You know what you can buy? You pay for somebody to clean the house. You pay for someone to teach. You pay for somebody as a security guard. You pay for someone who fixes your computer. So you can buy goods and you can buy services. You can buy information if you like. You can you? Online sometimes companies buy information. They do. But those companies pay money for such information. And nowadays, if you can see that in many places, in many countries, you find services are sold more than goods. Most companies who sell service make money more than selling goods and items. And if you look, for example, in big cities like New York, London, Tokyo, Paris, in those capital cities, they have companies, and those companies, what they sell information and they sell service. They sell advice only. You can buy the advice. You can buy the service. You can buy the consultation. Someone as a consultant can sell you the what? The advice. Can sell you his information, his opinion. For somebody who is well educated, someone has skills, someone has experience, he or she can sell his words, can sell his knowledge, can sell some of his skills by giving advice, by speaking to the media, by writing articles. So you can sell anything in life, anything you like. But most contracts we make on daily basis are sale of goods. These goods excel in our life. Look in the market. When you walk in the main street, in the high street, Umar al-Mukhtar, the high street, what do you see? Anyone? Yes. Food. Those are sectors. Food sector. Clothes. What else? Accessories. Electronics. Machines. Most likely, what we mentioned now, you can find them in the market. So you can go for shopping, you can find many stores, you buy whatever you like. But then, how can we organize our activities on sale? How can I make sure that the sale contract I made was legal or was not? How can I make sure? You know that by heart sometimes. Once you make a sale contract, this is fine. it was legal, it was okay. Because we have the conditions, all conditions. Same thing what we had before last week. Conditions we have, we can apply them, but here specifically for sale of goods. We have the offer and acceptance, consideration, and we have the intention. And then we have the item itself, the goods, which we paid the money for. Because I would like to contain, to get the item, so I would have to pay the money. I would have to pay something in exchange for that item to be able to buy it, to be able to hold it. Now, I would have to make sure that all the transactions I made, sale transactions, were legal. How they are legal? Because we are following the acts. Now, the act we have in general, it's called commercial law, isn't it? What we're studying here, commercial law, commercial activities. We study sale of goods. This can be commercial and it can be civil. It's in general, it's private, between individuals, between persons, individuals. The state does not intervene. It's only individuals. Now, in such contract, this can be civil, yes. It can be commercial, yeah. Most countries, this can be organized under the title of commercial law or civil law. But sometimes we have even a special statute, special act, which is called, in the United Kingdom, in Britain, it's called Sale of Goods Act 1979. It was made in 1979. That was made in 1979. The Sale of Goods Act. Then it's not only in the UK. In many other countries, you have special statute, اللي هو قانون فرع, provision, division within the law in general. This would organize mainly, this Sale of Goods Act would look at, regulates what? Only contracts. What kind of contracts? Look at that. Goods sold and bought, selling and buying, only goods. We're not talking about service or information. No, we are talking about goods, items. We can sell, we can buy. So this act, what does it mean, act? Act, no, it's not. Law. We can say code. اللي هو تشريع. We can say code, we can say act, and it's both of them are law, codes or act. Law. 1979 that was made, and was made mainly to regulate or to systemize our activities in terms of sale. Now, if you look at any piece of law, you'll find mainly this act or this code would look at our activities, would have some points, some regulations in which telling us what to do and what not to do, how to do the transaction, how can we make it. We believe that in life we have freedom, don't we? What do you think? You have the freedom to act? Yes. You can eat, you can drink, you can go out, you can study, you can buy, you can hire things, you can do many things, not everything. But we believe that usually we have the freedom to act. The same thing, commercial law, and the same is applicable to goods, sale of goods. This is the choice for every one of you. You have the choice. You can make a transaction. You can buy anything. You can go to the market now. If you have the money, you can pick up anything. You can buy it. As long as this contract does not affect the public interest in a negative way. I mean, it's not illegal, it's legal contract. As we had last week, we had some points in which can affect the existence of the contract negatively, in which we can set aside the contract, like void, voidable, and wake up, unenforceable. Come on. Are you not following me? Easy. Now, why do you have to have Sale of Goods Act? Why can't we leave it to the individuals? You can have the freedom. You can act. You can do whatever you like. As long as we can have the contract here. And this is the law. Act 1979. Why can't we only have the contract, because we said last time, I think, contract is source number 1, and the law is source number 2. So if we have a conflict between law and contract, between the act and the contract, then we can apply the contract. Then if we cannot find a term in the contract to regulate our activities, then we have to go to the act, to the code, to look at it. So always contract comes first. Then in the second stage, second phase, we have to look at the Sale of Goods Act code. Because there is something we have to keep in our mind. Look at me. Something we have to look at it carefully. We have intentions or not? Do we? Yes. So if we have the intention, then we can choose. We have intention, then we have choice. This is choice, and this intention is set in the contract, not in the law. But do you think this our minds today can think forever? Can we think for all activities we should have in our life? If we even make a contract, if I sign a contract with a second person, I cannot imagine myself that having it as a comprehensive, complete, perfect contract. No, sometimes we miss the point. Sometimes we have incomplete terms. Sometimes we have unclear codes, uncertain terms, or sometimes you have implicit terms. Then if we have any fault or any clause here, or any term which has to be explained, or we cannot explain it, or any term was uncertain, or something we did not set from the beginning, we did not agree upon, then if this contract is not full, it's not fully comprehensive or complete or perfect, then our second choice is the act. We have to look at the Sale of Goods Act. In the Sale of Goods Act, then we complete the shortage, because we are not perfect. Our mind can make intention and choice, but these choices are not fully completed. Then if we have any shortage, if you not any shortage in this contract, this has to be completed by the Sale of Goods Act. It doesn't matter if it's 1967, 1999, I don't care. I do care about the law itself. The law exists here. The act, which is implicit in the contract. Okay? It's implicit in the contract. Now, this act, why do we have to have it? Again, the same question. Why should we have Sale of Goods Act? I've just answered the question now by explaining the relationship between the contract and the act.
Regulate the transactions of sales, and also we had some terms that are implicit, like you just said, and are incomplete. We can turn to this act to find the needed terms.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. We have to have the act because we have to complete the shortage in the contracts. Because this act would complete our intention, because we don't have perfect minds. We don't have perfect intention. And if we miss the point, then this point can be completed and can be explained by the act, the Sale of Goods Act. This is why this act, when it comes based on two main divisions. Number one is this act lays out setting, explaining, establishing small number of compulsory legal rules, which are restrictions, minimal restriction. What's restriction? قيود. Minimal restriction. So this act giving us the freedom. You can act. We only have minimal restriction. You have to follow them. You are guided. You have to abide by these points. Number two, the same act, 1979 Act, Sale of Goods Act, looking at the bulk most of it, the majority, the whole, المجموع, most of it, bulk of the act is concerned with what? With perception, presumptions. Presumptions, what's presumption here? It's perceptions. فرضيات. That what we have in our minds, it's like what? This act will assume what we're thinking of. Someone would assume that I was thinking in this way. Assuming that. Why? Because this law, this act, is made by specialists, by scholars, and those scholars most likely have the experience, by definite, have the experience and knowledge and skills and education, and they can assume, they can presume يعتقد أو يتوقع, and implied terms. Implied. So these acts here, to have some points, these points are implied in the contract. Assuming what? يعني بنعتقد, assuming that these terms here will complete our intention. Complete our intention. لذلك what we have in Arabic law, what we said, one of the main points بسموها القواعد المكملة. To complete. These rules would complete our intention. Complete our intention here. As if we have missed one page. Like if you look at your book. How many pages? 200? Yeah? Imagine this is the book and this is the contract. This is the contract between you and me. The book, 200 pages. Now, if you find 5 pages missing from that book, what can you do? 5 missing pages out of this book. 5 missing pages. By mistake, by whatever mistake, I missed those 5 pages. Then we assume that we have those pages, but they are somewhere else. Isn't it? We have to look for them. The same thing, this is the contract here. Sometimes it's missing some pages, some points, some terms. But these terms, we'll find them where? In the act. So this act would complete the shortage, will clarify the contract, will make everything possible and easy for both parties, A and B. Isn't fine up to now? So this act would reflect the commercial expectations. Expectation, as I said now, our expectation that this book or this contract was full, perfect, legal. Then we find something wrong. What can we do? Reflect the expectations in the most commonly agreed sale contracts. يعني بغطي كل جوانب النقص. General will cover all the shortage and points which can be missed in the contract. It's a comprehensive, because in the act, in the law, as I said before, that some scholars who are specialists sitting down for weeks and weeks making the law, making the act, and then can review it many times, and this would be read at the parliament and read it for the first time and for the second time and for the third time, and then have to vote for that. So this act goes through a long process until we finalize it. So after this long process, this is supposed to be near perfection. Not perfect. There's nothing perfect in our life. As a human being, we are not perfect. So this can be near perfection. But the contract itself, by sure that we're going to have some mistakes, some shortage. Then in all cases, we have to bring the law and then we apply it here in the contract. Why? Because we would like to make the situation as perfect as we can. We would like to sustain the ability of two parties to keep their commitment to the contract. Okay? Look at this again here. This sentence here. Can you read it? Any one of you? Anyone? Volunteer? Go on.
In the absence of the contrary agreement, these terms will govern a contract within the Act's limit.
Okay, can you understand it? In the absence, في غياب, in the absence of the contrary agreement. Here, يعني في عقود في بنود مخالفة contrary agreement like number 1 sorry 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 if we don't find any term in the contract contrary اللي هو what means يعني عكس أو ضد to this act then this act will be applicable. If there is nothing in the contract to exclude the law, if we don't have any term in this contract excluding the law, the act, then this act is applicable. Then this act will, terms here, will govern the contract within the act's remit. If there is no terms or provisions in the contract excluding the law or excluding part of the law, then the law will govern the act. Okay? Fine? You get the point? No. By saying like, having this, look at it again, this contract here, A, B, C, D, we have some terms and we have to abide by these terms, following the terms of the contract as stated. But then if we have any mistake here, how can we solve it? We can go to the law. But if we would like to exclude the law, can we or not? I'm going to speak about this point after a few slides. We can exclude the law. We can completely exclude this law. It's up to us because this law would complete our minds, would complete our intention. And if we don't want this act, we can exclude it, cancel it completely. We can state in the contract saying here, no act of 1979. We don't want it. It's up to us. By this, we excluding the 1979 Act of Sale of Goods. If we don't have something in the contract, عكس contrary to this act, then this act will be applicable. So if we do not exclude the act, يعني لو ما استثناش يطبق. Yes, source number 2. Source number 1, source number 2 of our commitment. If we would like to exclude source number 1, which is the act, we can exclude it. But if we did not exclude it, then we have to use it. We have to use it because we have to use all terms in the contract. After we finish with these terms here, we cannot find a solution. Second option is the contract, unless we have already excluded it from the beginning. لو احنا من البداية استثناه, then we cannot use it. Isn't it? Fine. Now, because of this benefit of this act, because of the benefit here, many countries have adopted the same act. Not only in the UK, it's not only in Britain. Many European countries have adopted a similar law, act, using it to complete the intention of the parties. Here, the act applies to all contract where property and goods is transferred or agreed to be transferred for monetary consideration. So, simple, as we said in the first line, so this act, 1979 Act, Sale of Goods, is applicable. We can apply it if we have goods transferred for the money, or a similar situation here, transferred for the money, for the monetary consideration. So only we can apply this act if we have sale of goods or items for money. Simple? Is that difficult? Isn't it? Is it fine now? Good. Okay, in this slide now, what we have to see is implied terms. Terms implied into a contract of sale. Terms implied into the contract of sale. As I've been telling you now, these terms of the act are implied into the contract. In this contract, we have stated some explicit terms. As you can see them, we can write them down, we can talk about them, but at the same time we have some implicit terms, and these implicit terms are explicit in the law in the act, explicit here. See them? واضحين, clear. But at the same time, these explicit terms in the act are implicit in the contract. Implicit in the contract. If we breach one of these terms, then we have some consequences. But this is not something new for you because we had it last time. It depends if it's a condition or warranty. In this contract, as you can see, we had stated last time the difference between condition and warranty. And I want to listen to you now. What does it mean condition and what does it mean warranty in a contract? And even if it doesn't matter if it's explicit or implicit, it doesn't make any difference. Condition is a condition, whether it's explicit or implicit. So ضمني أو صريح. And warranty is a warranty. So what's the difference? You might have a question like this. What's the difference between the condition and warranty? This is a question. Go on. Condition and warranty. Easy. This is an easy question. Now before that, what's a condition? Okay, yes. Which kind of term is it? Condition. Is something essential? Yes. Something important? The contract cannot stand without it. So if we have a breach, then
this breach can lead to termination of the whole contract.
good. Then breach يخالف. Failing, you can define it in the exam. Breach is failing to perform as stated in the contract. Cannot fulfill his duties, his commitment. Breach يخالف. Now, okay, warranty. What does it mean? No, it's not. It's not like this. I mean, it cannot translate it from English to Arabic literally. You have two meanings. Condition is something essential, important in the contract. But warranty is... No, come on, before that. Is it something important?
Yes.
It's not imperative.
It's not important.
It's not important, not imperative.
If there is a breach in the contract, because the partner can claim for damages and not just breach the contract, just because it completely.
Okay. So this case can be applicable to the same thing, to implicit terms. Because we have now the 1979 Act, Sale of Goods Act. The whole Act, as you can see it, the whole Act is implicit in the contract. So all these terms, we have many terms, many of them, many pages in the Act, all of them are implicit in the contract. So we can divide them into conditions and warranty. It depends on each case. Sometimes a condition is something can be stated in the contract itself, because 1979 Act has decided to make clear some conditions, saying those are conditions. Otherwise, other terms can be warranties. You look at the contract itself, you can know condition and warranty. You look at the Act itself, you can see the difference between the condition and warranty. Despite this, we have some cases, some terms, we cannot make sure if these are conditions or warranty. We have to look at the objective perspective, objectivity. The judge, a reasonable person, we look at the importance of each term. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope so. Are you sure? You can have an question like this in the exam, by the way. You will. So, condition, someone, can you read it here? Haneen?
If the terms are condition and breach of them means termination of the contract.
Okay, we have one of the terms, number two in the Act. It's talking about quality. Quality. So if we have a breach in this condition, then the whole contract, you see, this and this are coming part of one contract. Now the Act and the contract is one thing, but can have them in one frame. It's a contract because this Act is part of this contract. جزء منها. So if we breach this equality, it means we have a breach, a condition. This would lead to most likely termination of the contract. Or it's your choice. I mean, if the victim has the choice. You can have money damages, or you can apply for the termination of this contract. If this condition, if this act has one of the terms, which was warranty, it's not reasonable for somebody. It's not reasonable for somebody to terminate the contract for the breach of warranty. It's not, because a warranty is not something important. It can be sometimes something secondary, something secondary to the contract, like the location, and this will not affect the contract. Sometimes can be like this. I mean, here in this case, it's not reasonable. It's unreasonable for buyer to reject the goods for breach of implied terms as to description, quality, fitness, sample, if these are warranties. But if they were conditions, then I can reject the whole contract. As a buyer, if I buy something, goods, items, I can have the choice. If the second party, the seller, has breached the condition, it's my choice. I can reject the whole contract, or I can ask for money compensation. If it was a warranty, as a buyer, I will not be able to reject the contract. I cannot say, well, I don't want this contract anymore. I'm going to cancel it. I will vitiate it because it was not delivered at the same place we wanted, or it was not up to the specifications we wanted. It was something similar. Something can do the same job. If it's a warranty, the buyer will not be able to reject the contract. The only thing we can do in this case is applying for money, damages, compensation. There's one sentence here a little bit difficult, but just I'm going to explain it in any way. I will have to explain it here. Anyone can read it? Go on. Didi or Yalla, go on. I don't know the name. Dalia or Atila?
This amendment directs that traditionally strict approach of English law.
Go on again.
This amendment moderates the traditionally strict approach of English law to contractual breach in a commercial context.
It's amendment. It means in the past we have something else. This is something new today. Something we have it today. At this specific law, that if we have a breach of the warranty, then we cannot reject the contract. It's a warranty. It's not something important. I cannot reject. I can apply for money compensation. But in the past here, this rule, this amendment, هذا التعديل الجديد, moderates the traditionally strict approach of English law to contractual breach of the contractual context. So it means in the past, it was something acceptable by the law to cancel the contract. But now it's not fair. Why should I cancel a contract if we can uphold it? If we can get some compensation, everything will be fine. Why should we cancel everything if we can amend some of the warranties, some of the terms, and everything will be fine? Now the new law will look at the benefit for both sides, buyer and seller. We can have the benefit, we can have the equity and justice and the balance between the two parties. Then there is no point to cancel the whole contract or to vitiate it. Then we have to keep it. Okay? Look now at some of the terms. Look, Section 12 and Section 14 of 1979 Act. Well, look, one of them is, we have to look now at the title, the quality, description, sale by sample, and so on and so forth. Let's begin with implied term as to title. Title, what the title is? Title of the property هو سند الملكية يعني ملكية الشيء. Now this title we are talking, listen, look at me. Look, I'm not talking about explicit terms in the contract. I am talking about terms in the 1979 Act, here, title. This is explicit term in the Act. But at the same time, this is implicit in هو صريح في القانون ضمني في العقد. Fine? Now, this title هو ملكية الشيء. Like selling you my house, my car, selling you some items which we have, I would have to transfer the title. ملكية الشيء. I would have to transfer the title of somebody. If I own this computer and I have to pass it to you, it has to be mine. If it's not mine, I will not be able to sell. I cannot sell a mobile phone I have if it's not my mobile phone. I would have to own the property to be able to pass it to anyone else. So the title has to be my title. Then I would have to pass it to Haneen or to Didi or anyone else. Now, Section 12 in 1979 Act, what does it say? Go on. Mushtaha? Go on, can you read it? Section 12.
Section 12 incorporate into the contract a term that the seller either has the legal title to the
Property.
at the time to be sold or at the time when property is
Passed. Okay, Section 12 in this Act says, once you transfer the title to someone else, if you would like to sell an item, goods to somebody else, then you have to have the title for this item. If you don't have it, can you sell it? Can you sell anything you don't own? You cannot. Can you sell my car? You cannot, because it's not yours. The title is mine. It's my car. Then the law says that you have to have, that's a condition, you have to have the title here, seller, either has legal title to the property, either at the time when you make the contract or at the time when you pass the property. الشيء نفسه, goods. So either one of two, يعني إما وقت العقد أو وقت التسليم. You have to have the title of the goods at the time, either at the time when we make the contract. Let's say that today we make the contract, but delivery will be after 1 week. So it's fine whether you have the title today or after 1 week. If I buy from you 50 tons of sugar, and you said that I'm going to deliver that to you after 5 days, I don't care if you have it now or if you have it after 4 days or 5 days, as long as after 5 days I can get my items, my goods. So you can have the title at the time to be sold, وقت توقيع العقد, at the time to be sold, or at the time when property is passed. So, and this happens quite often in our life. And you see that, I know some people buying goods from China, from Egypt, from Turkey, they pay the money in advance. I don't know if this is legal in Islam or not, the legality of this, but buying something, it has to be certain. You have to buy something, you have to be certain about it. It's not something, you cannot, like for example, you cannot buy the weed. You cannot buy the corpse before it's being harvested. Do you get what I'm saying? The corpse you cannot buy before it's harvested. يعني قبل جني الثمار مش ممكن. After you harvest it, then we can buy it. Then the same thing here. No, here it's not. Like we have to make sure that, I give you the money, or we sign the contract for something you would sell me, then you would have to have that title at the time we make the contract, or maybe after 5 or 4 or 6 days, as long as this can be done at the time of delivery, when we pass the title. Because some merchants get the money from buyers, they get the goods, it takes them few days to get some items and goods from Egypt through tunnels, whatever different ways they can use. Then by doing this, it takes a few days. You take the money from you, get the money, buy the goods from Cairo, get them to Gaza, it takes about 4, 5, 6 days. Then it's fine as long as I'm certain I am having that title. Fine, this is a condition. So we cannot sell something we don't own. Warranties, we have, at the same time, we have two warranties. Two warranties. So this is the basic thing. This is the most important thing. I have 50 laptops. I want to sell you. I have a car. I want to sell my car. This car is in my name. It's in my name. I have to pass it to you, which is fine. But then we have two extra warranties. في شروط إضافية by law, by the 1979 Act. This one of them is go on.
Two warranties are implied the buyer ensures
Position.
of the goods. The goods
Quiet position. Position هو ملكية هادئة.
the goods will be free from any
Encumbrances.
For example, a third party has design over the goods.
Okay.
These can
No, that's fine. That's fine. These two warranties saying that once that seller passing the title to someone else at that time, this title has to be free from any encumbrances. يعني خالي من أي قيد. Free. I can transfer the land, the goods, the item, anything I have to someone else. Now, free from any encumbrances. فيش قيد. No restriction. Nothing. And having a quiet position. ملكية هذا. So no one else can come in the future asking you, well, disputing that this item belongs to someone else. So this item has to be passed from A to B. A to B. And no C would claim it. No one else can claim it. It's only A having the title, pass it to B. Simple. If we have a dispute on that title, on that commodity between more than two people, then it's not a quiet position. Sometimes you have lien. Something called third party having lien over the goods. What lien? اللي هو الرهن أو الحجز. رهن. Some people, what they do, they get money. The money they get them from banks, or from building societies. But what they do, they have something as a mortgage. بنظام الرهن العقاري. Mortgage. So having lien over the house or the land or the flat or the car, having lien over the title, it means I cannot transfer that title freely because someone else would have his hand on that title. Someone else would come first to claim it. Someone would claim it. Then it's not a free. Then we have some restriction. Then here would cause trouble. By this here we have to make sure that once we transfer the title to the buyer, he or she would have it quietly with no dispute from anyone else. Okay? There's one point here, as you can see in the small lines. These terms, for some scholars saying that these terms can be harsh, can be difficult for one person. Like, anyone can see it? Can you see it? Go on.
rejection of goods
Next time. Yeah.
The rejection of goods found to be in a breach of Section 12 will allow the buyer to recover the full price paid, with no allowance for the buyer's use of the goods.
Do you understand it? Anyone? I know. See the benefit of coming to the class, to attend the class here. You can listen to me. We can discuss. We can explain. Because if you would like to study these points in the book as they are here, it will be difficult to be able to grasp the meaning, and you're gonna translate it into different meanings. So it's nice to attend the class and take some notes. Now, Section 12 here says, if we have a breach of these here points, Section 12, with a warranty or title, if we have breach, then like buying something from somebody, and I found the seller breached the contract, no title, or the title was not free, then I would take my money back, and you would take your goods back. As a buyer, I can take my money back or not? Yes. And the seller who breached the contract, خالف العقد, he would take his goods back. The problem is sometimes the buyer, taking the item and using it. Like I got the laptop, got 50 laptops, and I used 5 of them. I used them. They are not in you anymore. Then I can take my money back and the seller can take his goods back. Same thing with the car, with the flat, anything like this. I have been using the goods, the items. Then after a few days, a few weeks, I've taken my money back and the seller have taken his goods back. Then should I pay for the time I spend using the items or not? What do you think? By law, no, should not pay, because it was not my mistake. I was doing my best, I was doing well. I paid the money, I committed myself, but the seller did not commit himself, did not follow the whole instructions, and he was doing something wrong. He was breaching the contract. Then I can take my money back, he can take his goods back, but I would not compensate, as a buyer, will not compensate the seller for the time I used the items. But some scholars say, well, this is not fair. That's an opinion. It's up to you. You can think about it. We have different opinions in life. Some people believe this is the situation, this is fine, this is perfect. Others say, well, this is not perfect, this is not fair. Because as long as you have been using those items, you have to pay for that. Like, imagine yourself that you are hiring, renting, بالإيجار يعني, استأجر, renting a car, and not now after I use the car for 10 days or 20 days, I'm taking it back to its owner, I'm taking my money back. Now, as I said, you have two opinions. One says it's fine, you should not pay anything. This is by law. This is the legal point. I should not pay anything. I can take my money back as a buyer, and the seller can take the item. Some scholars say, some scholars protest against this. يحتجوا, saying, well, this is not fair. Okay, let's move on. Next point. This is an easy point here. It's sale by description. Sale by description. Again, the first one was title. Now is description here. Description. Sale by description. We find item with the whole description stated in the contract. This description here were agreed between A and B. Sometimes when you buy some items from some online stores, like when you go to Dell company, you know it, Dell. If you would like to buy a laptop or a PC, you go to the website, to the main page, you can select the item. Or if you would like, you can build up the item you would like to buy. Build it up yourself. You can choose, like you want a screen, an LCD screen, you want a laptop, the size of the screen, the hard disk, the memory, everything. You can build your laptop. تختار كل شيء, every single item you can choose it. Those what we call specifications. And then once you pay the money by Visa card, you expect in a 2 days time, you expect a laptop. 1 week time, you expect this laptop is coming to your house by delivery. Then when you look at it, you can expect the same description as you have stated, and you can imagine anything like this. Anything. When you buy a suit, when you buy a headscarf, when you buy glasses, a mobile phone, when you buy items like chairs like this here, buying them from China, buying half a million chair like this, you're going to use them for the public use. 500,000. Now it's not one item or two. Buying by description here, we have to make sure that everything is up to description we have made. بالتمام يعني. Perfectly. Here, where the buyer buys goods by description, then the goods must must correspond with the description. Must correspond. Like if I find a mistake, not the same description, I can take it back. Say, well, you have breached the condition, then are we going to change the item? Well, by the way, that before we finish this chapter, we're going to look at solutions. If we have one of these breaches, seller has breached the contract, what the buyer can do. We will look at the solution next time. I think next time we're going to look at that. We have one of the cases one of the cases between two guys, two men, it's a legal precedent in the UK that, you know, the system in the UK, in England, Britain, that's called Commonwealth. We have common law. Common law is based, oh come on, we had it the first week here. Civil law and common law, we forgot. Common law is based on legal precedents. It's called judge-made law. The law is made by judge. Decision made by judge. Judgment, as a judge, I can make decisions, and those decisions I make, those judgment, can be a reference in the future for the same situations, for similar cases. Can be a reference. We can use them in the future. Now, in one of the cases, it was said that this implied terms may only be breach, description, only one case. In one case, we have to apply one condition to make sure that, well, the seller has breached the condition here. He did not pass me the item as stated in the contract. Here, if, see the condition, if the buyer, as a buyer, relied upon the description. That's one condition. Be careful when you have a question in the exam and point like this. I have to make sure in this case, as a judge, if I look at this case, I would see if the buyer was relying, واعتمد بالكامل, upon the description. Because I wanted this laptop for specific use, and I make it clear for the seller that I would like to buy a laptop for specific needs. And I made it clear that those descriptions, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 descriptions, I want them in the laptop. I relied on the seller, and he sold me that laptop. He knew from the beginning that I wanted for a specific description, specific purpose. Can you just want to read this point here? Go on.
Therefore, if the buyer is an expert, clearance may not be established.
See, we can now, yeah, it's a negative thing. Here it's positive, here it's negative. Positive that reliance is a point in which we can use if the buyer is not an expert. Like for me, buying 200 mobile phones from India, 200 mobile phones, Nokia from India, coming to Gaza here. If I depend on the seller, and if he knew from the beginning that I want those mobile phones for certain specifications, then these mobile phones have to correspond with, will be the same as we have described. Unless in one case, we cannot use reliance. هو الاعتماد يعني. As a buyer, sometimes, I cannot establish the fact that I made it clear to the seller. I cannot establish this fact by saying to the judge, well, he was listening to me, and I made it clear to him that I want those specifications. Because if the buyer is an expert, if I was an expert, if I knew the items, if I know the specifications, in this case here, reliance might not be established. So we have reliance, اعتماد على مين؟ على البائع. المشتري اعتمد على البائع. Buyer relied upon the description of the seller. Because buyer doesn't know anything. He's not strong. He doesn't have specific good skills or knowledge. But if the buyer is expert and he knows everything about the items, and he should not rely upon the description made by the seller, then he cannot claim later on, that, well, I didn't know. It's you from the beginning that you knew those description. Like if I was myself as a computer engineer, I know very well about computers, and I examined the computer. At the time when I bought it, I examined it, and everything was fine, despite the fact the seller has given me some descriptions. I should not rely on what he said to me, because I can examine it. I can look at it. I can see if this computer is good or not. I'm educated, have skills, have knowledge, experience in computers. Why should I rely upon what the seller has told me? Then in this case, I would use my mind and my knowledge. Then even if I did not find in the item the same specifications as the seller has stated, it will be my mistake because I'm expert in this subject. Fine, you get it? Is it okay, honey? Are you sure? Okay? Quality. Is it the 8th week this week? This is the 8th week of this semester. 8th week. It's about terminal, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Now we have to move to the quality. Quality or fitness. Quality or fitness. Fill up. Yeah. Quality or fitness. These terms here, quality, fitness, will be applicable only when, if here, by section 14, they will be applicable only relevant where the seller is acting in the course of business. If the seller was a business person, he was not civilian. We don't care about the status. We don't care about the status of the buyer. It doesn't matter if the buyer was a businessman or he was a civilian. As long as the seller is a business person, then we can use section 14. Section 14. Section 14 has two sides, two divisions. Number one is fitness. Number two is equality. Fitness for purpose. Fitness, fit مناسب ولا لا؟ Fitness for purpose. Okay. Look at this here. This is called white marker, isn't it? White marker. Whiteboard marker. هذا قلم. We can use it, this one, on this board, whiteboard marker. We can use it and then we can delete what we have. We can clean the board. I can use this whiteboard marker on this whiteboard, and then after we finish, we can clean the board, isn't it? Yes. But there's some whiteboard markers. They stick to the board. We cannot clean them, isn't it? It's going to be difficult to clean them. So they look the same color, the same shape, the same amount of money you have to pay, but the quality is not the quality we want. It's not the purpose, sorry. It's not. Purpose here is that we're using these whiteboard markers to be able to clean them later on. Then if we cannot, then this does not match the purpose. As long as the buyer makes it clear to the seller, that we should use this item for that specific purpose, then the seller have to deliver the items as stated exactly. Here. Can you go on, read it, honey? Expressly or impliedly.
Or impliedly makes his purpose for the goods known to the seller.
Okay, it has to be conditioned that the buyer have to make it so say whether expressly or impliedly makes his purpose of the goods, using these goods to the seller. By doing this here, the seller is obliged. He has no option but to make sure that the goods provided are fit for the purpose. It's not fit in the size, in the shape, in the color. They have to be fit for the purpose. Like even look at this paint here. Look at this paint. It looks nice. This paint is blue. But some of them, when you paint it on the wall, when you paint it in the glass, will have a different color. It will be green. It will not be blue. Then I would have to make it clear for the seller that I would want to buy paint because I would like to paint the glass, the windows, glass windows, Because the paint we use for the glass windows, not the same paint we use for the wood. Have different quality, different points, items, conditions. Then we have to make it clear. I would have to make it clear to the seller that I would want to use this item for that purpose. Then in this case, as long as I make it clear, then the seller would have to provide this item which can fit the purpose. As long as if it's reasonable for the buyer to rely on the seller's experience. Again, we use reliance, الاعتماد. As long as the buyer using the seller, he relying upon him. Because I'm, as a buyer myself, Haneen, if you want to buy a paint, you're not an expert. You just go to the shop, asking the person, the seller, I want to buy paint because I would like to paint my windows, but then you don't have much experience on that. Then you have to use his own knowledge and skills. You're relying upon that. Then it has to be exactly as stated. The seller has to apply the contract as stated exactly. The second is the quality. When you buy something, you imagine that you would have a quality. When you buy a bottle of water, even if it's a water, you imagine it's clean, it's pure, it's nice, it tastes water, not something else. You imagine that you would have a quality. When you buy a headscarf, you imagine that headscarf you buy, when you wash it for the first time, would keep the same color, isn't it? It's a quality you expect. Then any contract you make, you can expect the quality. Same thing like with these pens here. Same thing with the computer. When you imagine that, what kind of a quality? It has to be satisfactory quality. Satisfactory, شيء معقول يعني. I cannot imagine that this item would be the best in the world or can be the worst of the world. No, it's something reasonable. Something can be expected by a reasonable person. شيء معقول. How can we know that if it's reasonable or not? The quality. Who can decide? Two parties? No. Who can decide if this quality, the quality of this laptop, this mic, maybe it's good, maybe it's not? Who can decide if the quality of the mic is the good quality? The users? The act itself provides test, objective test, which is said the quality would be expected by a reasonable man or lady. It's not the buyer or the seller, because if they have a dispute, then everyone says, well, the buyer is saying, well, this is not the quality I wanted, but the seller says, well, no, it is the quality. So what can we do? We have to find a reasonable person who can look at this quality and say, well, if this is the quality we wanted or not. This quality can be with price, description, and other factors. Like quality, I mean, how much would be this computer based on the quality it has. I paid $2,000, I expect that it would have a high quality. I paid $200, I would expect this laptop would have no quality. I mean, it depends on how much money you pay, it depends on the description, it depends on many factors. But the courts have identified certain factors. Some items we can expect to have higher price and higher quality. Other items we can expect low quality and low price. Like, look in the market now, what we have in Gaza. If you buy something and you find it not good, you can say, oh, well, this was made in China. Isn't it? But in fact, you see, in China, they manufacture everything you like. They manufacture goods with high quality and other goods with no quality at all. It depends on the demands, on the request for the buyers. In general, we have sometimes things with high quality, things with low quality. Second-hand goods? Used, مستعمل. Second-hand goods will attract lower expectations. When you buy a computer and you know this is not new, it's a use, it's second-hand. مش الإيد الثانية يعني هو same meaning. Second hand, it's used. You can expect this is not the same quality like something new. When you buy a car, it's not, of course. Like, what did you buy second hand and you found it doesn't have a quality? Mobile phone sometimes, you buy just a new mobile phone. Most likely people buying second hand mobile phones, isn't it? Yeah. But something really nice, but it's a second hand, because if it's a new cost 2,000 shekels, but if it's second hand costs you only 800, less than half of the price. But when you buy it, you have to expect that this item does not have the same quality. Because if it has been used by someone else, maybe it has some faults. Maybe it has lost the quality. Anyway, second point is there are some goods of reputable here, reputable brand. Some goods have some reputation, like when you buy bags. What's the best brand of bags? Handbags. Handbags. What the best brand? Well, there are some brand like watch. When you buy a watch, we have some brands like Rolex, bags like Gucci, glasses. Those have a brand. When you buy, you expect a high quality, and you pay like some handbags cost $1,000. Which is just the same bag, which was made by a different company, you can pay only $10, and another bag costs $1,000, $2,000. That's a big difference between them. But you can imagine the quality. Some people pay for the name, but even if it's a brand name, but most likely you can imagine this brand name based on the quality. Otherwise, if there is no good quality, it will not get to that high class here, brand, high expectation. I think it's enough for today. Thank you for your time. I'm going to see you Tuesday.